Before we move on to how Smash fully works, we should learn the basic mechanics. For each character, they have their own set of moves that they can do, called a moveset obviously. And in the air, they can do aerials, depending on which direction they're moving their joystick and pressing A. If they're not moving it anywhere, they will do a neutral aerial, which will just usually attack around them, but that's not the same for all characters. They have their side and back aerials, which attack in front of them, and whichever the way they are facing backwards. Usually the back air is more good for getting away from chases and hitting behind you. You can also do a down aerial, which usually spikes for a lot of characters, but not for all. You can do up aerial, which usually is a safe way to attack opponents that you've already launched. On the ground, you can walk by lightly moving your joystick to the left or right, and if you move it quickly, you'll dash. While dashing, if you press A, you'll do a dash attack, which is more of a safe way to approach an attack, but is often predictable. You can also do smash attacks, which happen if you flick your joystick and press A at the same time, or use the C stick if that's how your controls are set up. You can do side smashes, you can do up smash, or down smash. There is no neutral smash since you have to use the joystick. You can also do tilts by either inputting your joystick lightly to one direction, then clicking A, or setting your controls so that the C stick does it for you. There's the side tilts, which are the same, your up tilt, and your down tilt. Generally these are good for getting opponents after jabbing or doing anything. Jabbing is lightly clicking A while doing it, so if you spam it a lot, you can get opponents a lot, or you could just jab once and do a tilt attack. For some characters this works better than others, but it's a good thing to know. You can also shield by pressing the ZR button or ZL button. This will pull up a shield, obviously, that will protect you from most attacks and will slowly lose its size over time, but will regenerate while you're not using it, even if you're moving around or attacking. It'll come back to its size after some time. You can use this to block big attacks, such as a Little Mac attacking with his smash attacks, but be careful because if the shield runs out, it will break, causing you to be stunned for a while. So if you either let it run out or get hit by a big attack while your shield is low, then it'll break and you will be stunned for a while. You can mash buttons to get out of that quicker, but most of the time you'll be hit by an attack before you can break out of that stun. The best way to mash out of an attack of any kind is to swirl your joystick around in all directions to avoid doing any moves that you don't want to, and while still inputting as many as possible. It's important to note that while having your shield up, you're not fully protected if your shield is shrunk or been hit a lot. Your head and feet can be exposed easy as your shield shrinks. Those areas can be hit, and it's called a shield poke if they do get hit. If an opponent hits your shield and those areas at once, it'll count as hitting your shield, not your body. But a good way to avoid this is to use your joystick lightly to adjust your shield around, or hold B and then move your joystick all you want. This will avoid attacks that are low or anything like that. While shielding or while just pressing shielding simultaneously with your joystick, you can do a roll. For Palutena it doesn't look like much of a roll, or you can do a spot dodge, which will make you intangible while in the roll or in the spot dodge for a short period of time. The more you do them, the slower they'll get, or the more time they'll take. Not getting as much distance, as you can see. For other characters, they're better than others. For Palutena, she disappears completely, which is helpful because it makes it hard to see which direction she's going or if she's just doing a spot dodge. So doing this looks the same as doing a side tilt. Going forward or back will still look almost the same. So that can be more of movement for her. To counter a shield, you can grab your opponent with the left or right triggers or buttons, and that will grab them, and after a short time they can mash out of it or just get punched out. At higher percents it'll be harder for them to mash out, but it'll go straight through a shield, and you can hit them a few times and they'll let go, or you could hit them a few times and move in a direction and it'll throw them that way. You can do nothing, just throw them that way for a quick way to get them out like this. You can do a back throw, a forward throw, a down throw, and up throw. All are different for each character and serve different purposes, but generally your back throw will do the most knockback. So if you're looking to get a kill, always do the opposite direction from where you grabbed. During the grab, you are invincible. During the throw, I mean. During the grab, you're completely vulnerable, so if you're in a multiplayer match, watch out, or if there's any projectiles that are coming at you, you can avoid them by doing the throw and be invincible for the throw. So if there's a projectile coming behind me and I'm grabbed someone and I'm worried about the projectile hitting me, I can just do the throw as the projectile is coming in. It's important to note that while shielding, if you let go of the shield right as an attack is coming in, your last chance to block the attack, then you will perfect shield or parry the attack, which makes them take longer to recover from the attack and gives you an opportunity to attack them back. It also doesn't damage the shield and will fully negate any damage of the attack going to you. It's important to note that in Smash there is 60 frames per second, which means when I describe a frame, that is 1/60th of a second. So to parry, you need to get it within the last 5 frames of the attack. And it'll give you 3 extra frames to attack. So not much, but it's enough that you can feel that you have a little bit of time to attack them back. So, let's see what a parry looks like in action. We're going to have Little Mac here do a smash attack on us. We're going to parry it. After an attack like that, you can make an attack right after and counter whatever they're doing, but you can also just use it to get rid of the attack in the first place, as some situations warrant that you're just trying to get out of there. You can do a roll afterwards and get out of there. But most times you want to do something quick. For Palutena, there isn't much quick out of shield options that are quick, but parry is a good one, so you could parry after that, and that would be decent. But you may notice that I haven't discussed whether or not you can do rolls in the air, and you can technically, but they're called air dodges. Air dodges can be either like a spot dodge, but in the air, and you just click the shield button or grab button, and it'll do that movement. For some characters, the grab button will do an attack instead of a air dodge, but for most, it'll still do an air dodge just like the shield button. If you're moving in a direction while pressing the shield button in the air, you will do a directional air dodge and move in that direction, but you remember for any of these, you are very vulnerable. Only use these if they're running at you with an attack in the air and you need to get out of the way. For the full move, you're intangible, but after, you can't do anything for a long period of time, and you're very vulnerable doing that, so be careful about how you do that. The best uses of air dodges are to block or dodge an enemy attack if they're shooting something at you, or to clip to the ground really quickly so you can recover before they attack you in the air, or to clip to the ledge if you're falling off and you can air dodge to it and grab the ledge. But generally it's a very big move that'll make you vulnerable for a long time, so it's good to avoid using it often. But speaking of ledge, we should find all the ledge options that you can do when you are on the ledge, like when you air dodge to it. You can either hold for a while, but you'll only be invincible for a while, and you will fall after a short period of time. Right there. On the ledge, you can either move forward and you will just climb up on the ledge, or you can use your shield or grab and it'll roll, which makes you invincible for the first bit of it, but it's very predictable and they can catch you on the forward part. And you can also jump, which will jump up the ledge and get you pretty high. You can also press A to attack, and it'll do a little attack at the beginning of it, like that. Each character has a unique attack. Some are better than others, but not by a huge amount. Generally, if your opponent's right at the edge, you can hit them with the attack, and that's a good move to do. A lot of Smash is finding what to do when you get launched away and you need to get back and keep fighting or avoid getting hit by your enemy. One thing that's important to note is that while you're in there, if you hold down, you will fall faster. You can also use this to do attacks and do quick aerials like that and fall down quicker, or do an aerial and move down while fast falling, and you can hit enemies like that. It's often just for surprising your enemy on how quick. If you're off the edge, you can fall down quicker and do an attack, or anything like that. Some people just jump and do a quick fast fall to get down. You can see how that's quicker than just falling normal, but it's a good mix-up. Let's move on to special attacks. Each character has their unique set of special moves used by B, or whatever you set the move to. By doing a directional input to the side, up or down, or no input, you will have different moves depending on each one. Your up B will usually be a recovery method. Usually they do some damage, but for Palutena, she just teleports in any direction that she points. She's vulnerable in those first few frames of her attack. And for a lot of characters, they each have casting time for their attacks and can be vulnerable during that. After using most up Bs, you will be vulnerable on the way down and in free fall, where all you can do is move side to side or jump on characters if they're in the air, as if you're doing a double jump, except it won't expend your double jump since you're jumping on a character, and it'll push the character down. So that's also useful for edge guarding, because you can jump on the character and it'll knock them down and off the stage. But more importantly, in fast fall, you generally don't want that to be for a long period of time like that. You just want to land as quick as possible. But her other attacks are Explosive Flame if you flick the joystick, and for a lot of special moves, flicking the joystick will do something different than holding it down. For her, flicking it will do it further away from her, and not flicking it like that will do it closer to her. This attack is very slow, and it's more useful for predicting your opponent and guiding them away from a specific spot. While that Explosive Flame there is there, they won't go there. So they'll if they were over here and the Explosive Flame was right here, they're likely going to move down here and go to attack you, and you can expect that and grab them as a punish, or do any attack as a punish. But what matters is that it's generally should not be used as a quick attack. Her other moves are Auto Reticle, it's projectile, it blocks them running up to you. It's good for zoning and keeping them away from you or not showing what's coming next. Her final special move is her down special, which is counter. Counters are very common in Smash. Lots of characters have them. And for the duration of the move, or that little white flashes on Palutena there, she will be invulnerable, and if hit by an attack, she will hit right back at them. If she gets hit by a projectile, it'll reflect, but that doesn't happen for all counters. Some counters don't work the same, but for your character, you should figure out if your character has a counter at all. Let's show how a counter shows up in action. Like that, they hit me during the white area, and I attack back. For reflecting projectiles, make sure that they don't see it coming, because some characters can shoot a projectile, expect it to get reflected, and reflect it right back at you. So be careful of that. Or if they're some character that can consume projectiles, make sure they aren't going to pocket their own projectile that you shot back at them. So use this move carefully, and counter should be only used as a counter, not as an attack on its own. You shouldn't be rushing in with a counter unless the attack that you see the enemy is doing is a long attack like Explosive Flame, so you know what's going to happen. Or if they're charging up sign, then you can run up. If you know they're just going to run out of that time, that max amount of time that they can charge the attack and hold it, if you know they're going to do that, then you can run up and block it. But generally, you want to use it as a punish for slow moves, or if you know that they're doing something predictable. Don't use it as its own move, or you will be punished on your own. Let's move on to the more fundamental mechanics of the game. The higher the percentage, the higher you'll get launched. Every attack you deal on an enemy will heighten their percentage and make them easier to launch. You generally want to launch them off the edge of the map unless you're doing a stamina battle, in case you just want to do damage. Once you launch a character, you want to follow up with more moves. Don't just be going for one attack. I'm not going to land Explosive Flame and be like, now I need to get away and get ready for my next attack. You should be using Explosive Flame, if I hit it, like that, and then rush in with a dash attack or anything like that. But as the percentage heightens, you can do bigger attacks and launch them further, obviously. Smash attacks are a great way to do big knockback, and once they're high you can just flick a smash attack, and not like that. You can run up and flick a smash attack, but it's still slow and predictable, so you should be careful. If you have a faster smash attack depending on your character, that's a better move. But that's percentage at its basic principles. As you heighten your own percentage, you will launch further, and it'll be harder to recover. But it's important to note that when you're getting hit by an attack, you can get launched not as far as you normally would by doing directional input or launch in different directions. If you get launched upwards, then if you move the joystick in either direction, you will go that way more in that direction than normal. If you're getting launched horizontally, like if I was getting hit this way, and you hold down or up, it'll change how much knockback you get. So you'll either get launched further or get launched not quite as far. This is important because obviously if you're getting hit at high percentages, you can lower your knockback by holding down, or you can, and that'll just make it harder to kill you. And but if you're at lower percentage and you need to get back in the fight as quick as possible, or then you can hold down and it'll launch you not quite as far and you get back in. But let's say you're more worried because your character has good range, and once you get hit you're worried that you'll get attacked again, then you can hold up and you will get launched further away from them, and they won't be able to chase you as quickly, which is good to avoid getting comboed, but can put you further off the ledge and be in bigger danger. So let's show a demonstration of DI with no DI. DI downwards, as you see, slightly before 25. DI upwards, as you can see, it's just past 25. DI upwards won't do as much. And if you really want to take the least amount of knockback possible, you can crouch before getting attacked, although of course this is less applicable. It's more nice if you're doing a down tilt and you happen to get hit during that, because then you'll take less knockback. But if you get attacked while crouching, you will take a lot less knockback. As you can see, I only went to 15, that's 10 less around. We're on to our last two mechanics of the basics. This first one that we're going to do is Rage. Rage is whenever you are at a higher percentage, you will deal more knockback, so will your opponent if they're at higher percentage. It only does it by a slight amount. The highest that it'll increase it by is 10%, but this adds up when you're both at high percentages and dealing lots of knockback. So, it modifies it up to 150%, which means at 150% you'll be doing 10% and it'll scale as accordingly downwards. So, let's first show 0% and how far that launches me. Went straight to just after 5. Now at 150%. As you can see, I get launched just a tiny bit further. Now I'm just one more block ahead. Small difference, but it adds up when you're both at high percentages. Let's move on to teching. Whenever you land from an attack, you will crash and be vulnerable for a bit. Then you can stand up, roll, or attack as you get up. These each have their own advantages. Rolling can get away from attacks as your opponent approaches you, or get behind them and attack them. attacking can get an opponent raised, they're just getting on you, or standing up will just get you in your normal position. Let's see them each in action. Roll. Get up. And you can attack. Now, instead of crashing like that, you can tech, which is done by either grabbing or shielding or doing an air dodge right as you approach the ground. Right as you are just about to crash, you can press that and it'll tech and recover you very quickly. If you air dodge into the ground, it'll automatically tech, but that is slower and more vulnerable to you. You can also tech while getting hit to a wall or the bottom of a stage, which will stop the knockback that you just took and won't bounce. You can also do this if you were spiked into the ground. But certain high damage attacks, you won't be able to do this anymore. So be careful, but it'll be a quick recovery that'll allow you to attack and get right back at them really quickly. Let's see it in action. First, a normal tech. As you can see, I got up really quickly and immediately. Now let's show a tech at a further launch distance with an air dodge into the ground for automatic tech. Note that if you do any attacks while falling, you will not crash like you normally do, you'll just land normally. So you don't really need to tech if you do big launches like this, but this is useful if you just want to get to the ground quickly. As you see, I did a quick tech and can get back into business. One last piece I forgot to mention is stale moves. In a normal game, your moves will become weaker the more you use them. Specifically, if you hit a move. In the last 9 moves that you've hit on a shield, or on an opponent, or on a projectile, or a counter, but if you just miss a opponent, it won't count. But in the last 9 moves that you hit, those will be weaker. The more that a move is on that list, the less strength it'll have, knockback and damage. So, for example, if I did my down tilt on this little Mac, and then do it on this one, it becomes less down there, and does less knockback. He's really close to me now, and he's only taken 7% instead of 8.9. This is only available on training if you turn it on in the other settings, right here. If I land a bunch of, let me reset their percentages here, but if I land 9 other moves, or just 7, would be enough to start unstaling my down tilt. I've now landed enough to refresh the move, and it will deal 8.9 as per usual. And it can lower the damage a lot, and interestingly, if you have a fully fresh move, it'll deal 5% more damage than its base damage, which will feel like it's normal damage because that's just how the game works, but it does have a base damage that's lower than its fresh move cast. So that's something to know. Thank you for watching this full video. This is just the basics, just so that you know all the mechanics that are needed for all the tactics that are going to come in the next videos. So see you then. And if you want some examples of each of the concepts in here, I added a few videos that I found that match it in all the clips that we have.